The clip ran for 47 seconds. The room was silent for all of them, and for 4 seconds after. Then Colbert said, "I know." He said it the way you say something to 400 people who have just watched the same thing you have been watching, in private, for the previous 72 hours, and who have arrived at the same conclusion you have, which makes the saying of it less a revelation than a confirmation. He said, "I know." He set the remote down. He looked at the room. He said, "That is the same man." The clip, the left half of the split screen he had assembled from publicly available footage, and had the graphics team run in a configuration nobody on the show had used before. 2 Trump speeches synchronized by facial register rather than by date, had contained 2 things on the same screen at the same time. On the right, Trump's April 1, 2026, White House address, the "We will finish the job" speech, the architecture of a president updating the nation on the progress of a military operation he had launched against a country of 93 million people. On the left, Trump at the Fayetteville rally, December 2016, the specific speech in which he had said, "We will halt the rush to overthrow foreign governments that we know little about and that we should not be involved with." And then, continuing, Election night 2024. "I'm not going to start wars, I'm going to stop wars." And then, the 2016 Republican debate, "The war in Iraq was a big fat mistake." And then, the 2019 Syria post, read aloud, "I am trying to end the endless wars." 47 seconds, left and right, past and present, the promises and the speech. He said, "That is the same man." He said it again, for emphasis, not dramatic emphasis, the documentary emphasis of a man who has built an argument from public record and is now reading the conclusion. He said, same voice, same hands, same orange. He said, different relationship with the concept of wars. The room laughed, the quick, sharp, incomplete laugh of people who want to laugh and are also watching a split screen that is still on the monitor beside his head and is not removing itself from the room just because the joke arrived. He walked from behind the desk, not the standard walk, the long walk, from the desk to the front of the stage, past the first camera mark, to the specific position closest to the audience, the position that reduces every available buffer between the man and the room. He stood there. He said, "I want to do this carefully." He said it in the register of a man who has decided, before the broadcast, that one segment tonight will be done without the full comedic scaffolding. Not without humor, without the humor doing the load-bearing structural work. He said, "What you just saw is a split screen of public statements made by the same person in the same voice about the same subject." He said, "There is no editing trick here." He said, "I did not cut anything that changes the meaning of any statement." He said, "The statements are sourced, dated, and available in their full context to anyone who wants to watch them." He said, "The left side of the screen is a man who ran for president twice on an explicit, repeated, specific promise to his voters that he would not do the thing the right side of the screen shows him doing. Confirmation, he held the remote, the specific gesture of a man who could play the clip again and is making the room aware that he is choosing not to because it does not need to be played again." He said, in the February 2016 Republican primary debate, Trump said the Iraq war was a big, fat mistake. He said it was started on a lie. He said the people who started it should be held accountable. He said this to distinguish himself from every other candidate on the stage. He said it was the most important foreign policy moment of the 2016 primary, and it worked because the people who heard it believed he meant it. He said NPR published an analysis this week describing the Iran operation as a major reversal of Trump's own campaign promises. He said Al Jazeera ran a compare and contrast of the anti-war rhetoric versus the Iran strikes. He said Marjorie Taylor Greene, arguably the most visible America First voice in Congress, posted that she had been fed the narrative for decades and that she believed Trump's previous bombing had eradicated the threat and that she did not support this. He said, when you have lost Marjorie Taylor Greene on a war, the war is not tracking well with the base you built it on. He walked back toward the desk. Not all the way, halfway, the midpoint position of a man who has said the documentary thing and is now returning to the register that connects it to the room. He said, "I want to be fair to the president." He said it with the specific vocal setup that his audience has learned across 10 years, precedes the sentence that is least fair to the president. He said, he did say, "And I want to play this because it is important." He said, when asked at a briefing whether Iran would become Trump's Iraq, no. He said, it would not devolve into an endless conflict. He said, Pete Hegseth said that. He said, Pete Hegseth, the man who called rules of engagement stupid and who announced a war from a department that accidentally published the target coordinates in a press photo. He said, Pete Hegseth said it would not be endless. He walked back to the desk. He sat down. He spread wide. He looked at the remote. He said, I want to play you one more clip. He said it with the flat, even delivery of a man who has been building to this specific piece of footage for 13 minutes and is now setting it on the table. He played it. The 2024 election night speech. Trump at the podium, victory declared, the room behind him in full celebration. And the specific sentence, I'm not going to start wars, I'm going to stop wars. He stopped the clip. He said, that was November 5th, 2024. He said, on March 1st, 2026, 482 days after that sentence, the United States launched Operation Epic Fury against a nation of 93 million people. He said, without congressional authorization. He said, without a defined exit strategy. He said, with ground troop deployment now openly acknowledged as a possibility by the same president who, 482 days earlier, had said the words, I'm not going to start wars. He said, 482 days. He said it once. In the flat register of a number that does not require elaboration when it is placed between a sentence and its refutation. Then he looked at the camera. The walk was complete. From desk to stage, front to midpoint to desk, the full architecture of a monologue that has moved through every register and returned to the one it started in. He said, here is what I know about the split screen. He said, the people who voted for the man on the left side are watching the man on the right side. He said, they watched him say, big fat mistake, about a war started on a lie. And they believed him. He said, they watched him say, I'm not going to start wars from a podium on election night. And they believed him. He said, and now Marjorie Taylor Greene and Rand Paul and 3 other America First Republican senators are standing in the United States Senate saying, this is exactly what we were promised would never happen. He said, I want to be careful about something here. He said it quietly, in the specific register of someone separating a political observation from a partisan one. He said, this is not a Democrat versus Republican story. He said, this is a story about a specific set of words, said to a specific group of people, who made a specific decision based on those words, and who are now watching a split screen that they did not ask for and cannot make go away by closing their eyes. He set the remote on the desk. He said, Trump has posted 11 times since the clip started running. He said he called it fake news, selectively edited, deeply unfair, and a hoax perpetrated by enemies of the state. He said it in the flat voice of a man reading a list of characterizations. He said, the clip contains 2 speeches. He said, both speeches are in their full original context. He said, both speeches were posted by Trump himself. He said, one of them is from tonight. He looked at the room. He said, the other one is from a man who doesn't appear to live here anymore. The room went completely quiet. Not the laughter quiet or the recognition quiet. The specific silence of 400 people receiving a sentence that is both funny and devastatingly true and is being said in the register that does not pick between those 2 qualities but carries both simultaneously, which is the thing that Colbert has been doing for 10 years and that the split screen was built to demonstrate. 4 seconds. Then the room broke. Not the sharp crack, the long, building, rolling laugh of people who have been given permission to put down something heavy, which is the laugh that arrives after silence rather than before it. Trump posted 4 more times before midnight. He called Colbert a terrorist sympathizer, a Democrat operative, a talentless hack, and a man whose show was ending because nobody watched it. He posted from the residence. He posted it about a split screen made of his own footage. He posted it about a sentence he had said on election night, 482 days before the operation he had described from the other side of the screen. Subscribe right now and turn on notifications. The next confrontation is already building, and once you see what's coming, you'll understand why silence is always louder than power.